Hello YouTube, or should I say good evening YouTube. In today's video I'm going to be talking about my thoughts after being a HGV driver for 6 weeks. So I filmed a video, my thoughts after my first week, which was quite a popular video, and now I'm going to have a go at filming my thoughts after 6 weeks of HGV driving. And as you can see, my cat won't leave me alone, so he's going to be in the video. I'd like to start with then aches and pains. So when I first started my career as a HGV driver, in my first week I had a lot of aches and pains because my arms weren't used to doing anything other than pointing at the whiteboard and marking books and tucking chairs under. So using the ratchet straps and opening and closing the curtains and climbing on and off the lorry was giving me quite a few aches and pains. I found that my arms and my wrists and my hands were aching along with my legs and my knees, but now 6 weeks on I'm not aching so much anymore, so that is a good thing. It's just becoming normal for me now. I've also found that driving my lorry has become second nature to me now, so I don't have to obsessively follow the tail of the lorry in the mirror as I go round a corner, where when I was learning I had to obsessively look and make sure I wasn't going to hit anything. With that being said though, that doesn't mean I don't look in my mirror, of course I do, but it's more of the glance motions rather than being glued to the mirror. I also have become better at knowing the width of my wagon, so when I look down a street or I look at a gap, I know if I can fit down there or not. And that's just through not fitting and then learning, oh, it won't fit through there, and then having to try and reverse and so on. But yeah, I'm also learning how far back I can go when reversing, but I'm still unsure sometimes. I don't get out and look as much as I did when I first started, but I am still struggling with how far back I can go. When I look in the mirror, it looks like I'm going to tear down the factory, but when I get out, I'm miles away from it, so I need to find something to help me with that. Once I find out the magic ingredient, I'll let you know. What are you doing, Ginge? You need to sneeze, huh? What are you doing? Don't sneeze in my video. That's not going to be nice. I also, of course, 6 weeks on, still make mistakes. So when I am going round a corner, sometimes I have a look and think, oh, I think I can get the wagon around that corner. And then I find that I can't and I have to reverse. So I'm still making mistakes, but nothing major, which is good to know. I seem to have mastered my gearbox now. I think the magic combination for my 4/4 gearbox is to go from 2nd gear to 4th gear, then 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, rather than to do them in order from 1 to 8. However, if the wagon is loaded and is heavy, it is best to pull away in 1st gear if I'm on some sort of hill or something like that. 1st gear is better when it's heavy. Someone left a comment on my first week video. I think it was Roy Smith, actually. And Roy said, when I mentioned about looking for the handbrake down by the gear stick in the wagon, Roy left a comment saying, don't worry, you'll start looking for it on the dashboard of your car soon enough. And yeah, I have. When I park up my car now, I'm going up here for the handbrake, but it's not there in the car. So yeah, I've noticed that I'm becoming more tuned to driving my lorry than I am driving my car, so that's a bit weird really, because I mean I've had my car for ages, and then all of a sudden when I get back in my car after driving the lorry on my first week, I couldn't drive the car. I just was in the wrong gear and I was all over the place. But I'm finding now 6 weeks on, I've got the difference now between the car and the lorry, so I'm not making those mistakes anymore about driving my car. On my first week as well, I didn't like driving my car when I got home from work, so I was glad to park up the car and think that's enough driving for today. And I think it was just because of the nerves and maybe just concentrating all day really on the driving. But I find now that I'm a bit better and it doesn't bother me driving. It doesn't bother me driving when I come home from work now. It's okay. I've also found out that having my wagon loaded and unloaded all these many times, that things that are round are the hardest things to strap. So at one of the companies that we deliver to, one of the bin things is round, and if the strap isn't dead centre over that, then it moves, and even if it is, sometimes it moves. So the hardest things to strap are things that are round. If it's something that's round, I kind of think, oh no, I don't want to be carrying that, because you have to keep checking and make sure it's safe. I mean, you should check anyway, check your load anyway, but you know what I'm saying, it adds a layer of worry when you're driving around, because you need to make sure that it's strapped down. 6 weeks on, I still enjoy going to work, and believe it or not, I miss driving my wagon on weekends when I'm driving my car around. Can you not steal my pen? When I'm driving my car around, I miss being high up like I am in the wagon, because you can see over all the cars and everything. And when you're in, say that you're in a queue of traffic, you can see what the hold up is. Where when you're in the car, you can't see what the hold up is. I've also noticed as well, I don't need my sat nav as much anymore. Because the places that we go are the same places a few times a week, I've got to know where they are now. And I've also got to find out which order I'm best to go in when I do my deliveries. I've found out that if I go from that place to that place, rather than the other way around, then I can get through a main road or something. It's easier, or it's faster to get from one to the other. I also have found that I'm always on the lookout for 7.5 ton signs and low bridge signs, where before, I know I mentioned in my first week, that was something I was struggling with, along with learning to drive and learning the manual gearbox and trying to remember which bins are going where. I know that I said that I struggled with remembering to look for all the signs, but now it's become second nature for me. Even when I'm in my car, I'm looking for these signs. Also, from a bit of experience of getting into a yard that is tight or doesn't have anywhere to turn round, I found that the best way is just to reverse into the gates. Bless you. It's best to go into a yard backwards, and then if there isn't anywhere to turn around, you're already facing the right way. So it removes some stress by being able to drive out. Google Street View is a godsend when you're delivering to a new place. I've found that when I have somewhere new to deliver, I always look on Google Street View and have a look for the factory or the yard where I'm delivering, so I can see from Street View, can I turn around? Does it look like there are two gates? Is there somewhere to park where I can go in and ask, or so on and so on. It's just look things up on Google Street View, I found has helped me a lot. Before I set out and get the wagon stuck, like I have done before, I pulled into the wrong industrial estate and there was nowhere to turn the wagon around big enough, so I had to do something like 100 shunts to get the lorry round. It wasn't 100, but you know what I mean, it felt like that. To get the wagon back out again. On my own, there was no one else as well to help me, so by help me I mean guide me to see how far I could go back. So that was a learning experience. I know in my first week video I mentioned about my hands being dirty all the time and I was struggling with dirty hands and it's driving me mad. I found that I've got used to it now. It doesn't bother me so much now having dirt on my hands where it did before, because the nuts and bolts and things that we're carrying are oiled and greased, so it gets on the straps and gets all over your gloves and gets all over your hands and your clothes. But I found that doesn't bother me so much anymore. I'm getting to grips with that. I've also learnt that carrying a spare pair of gloves is always a good thing. The ones that I have are like a textile fabric one, and when it rains and they become wet, it's not very nice to wear the same gloves again if they're soaking wet, especially like if the rain has stopped. So it's nice to have a spare pair in the wagon, so if it does stop raining, then you can put your spare ones on, and then your hands are nice and dry. I also got to drive a 19 plate lorry that was a DAF, where my wagon is a Scania, but I got to drive a DAF wagon that was automatic, and I've come to the conclusion that I'm not keen on automatic lorries, just because I'm used to driving a manual car and my wagon is manual, and I just had no idea what to do with my left foot. It was just the weirdest experience. So at the moment I prefer my manual wagon, and I'm not too keen on the automatic, although it was an absolute luxury to be able to drive a 19 plate wagon in 2019 as a new driver. I think the company put a lot of trust in me there, so thank you to the company. I also feel fitter and stronger, so doing all these ratchet straps and stuff, I've noticed that I feel a bit fitter, and I'm feeling a bit stronger and a bit more toned up compared to how I was. I've also found that early mornings aren't affecting me so much now. I know someone left a comment on another video saying getting up at 4:30 in the morning is a lie-in, but to me it's not a lie-in, that's early. But I'm getting used to that now. It's not knocking me around so much. I found the right bedtime for me, so I can get to grips with the next day without feeling too tired. I've also noticed that 56 miles per hour down the motorway is not very fast. It feels so slow really when you're in the lorry, when you're sitting on the motorway and you have quite a fair bit to go. Just sitting there doing 56 when you're used to doing 70 in the car, it does feel quite slow. So when you're looking on Google Maps and stuff to find out how long is it going to take you to get from A to B, Google Maps plans your route based on you being in a car doing 70 miles an hour. So whatever time it says, if it says 20 minutes, then you can add some minutes onto that, because it's not going to take 20 minutes at 56 miles an hour on the limiter in your wagon. So I've learnt to add a few minutes on for motorway journeys. There's also a HGV family that you feel like you belong to, that I feel like I belong to. In a sense that people help you, and I've mentioned this in other videos before, how many people just come up to you and help you and start guiding you. When you're reversing, they just jump out and start telling you come back or stop or whatever, or they offer to help you, and they offer lots of advice for you as well. Lots of people do that. But I've also noticed when you're at junctions and you're trying to pull out of a junction or a yard, another lorry or a bus will tend to let you go, so they kind of feel for you. They know how difficult it is, particularly if the wagon is heavy. It's so slow to pull away. You need to find such a large gap for you to be able to get out. So there seems to be like a HGV and a bus family where we let each other go at junctions and we give each other space coming out of yards, because most of the car drivers, they don't have time for you in your wagon. They just want to get past you, and if there is a space for them to overtake you, they will, and if there's a space for them to cut you up, they will, where that tends not to happen so much with other lorry drivers, I've noticed. Funny story as well, I used the jet wash on I think it was at the end of my second week. I used the company jet wash, and parked the wagon round there and thought, yep, I just got some time now. I'll spray my wagon down, make it nice and clean, ready for next week. And I went in and asked where the jet wash was, and I was told where all the on and off switches are and so on. So I went round, get out and lift up the shutter to get the jet wash out, everything like I was told. And I noticed that the handle of the jet wash, instead of being just the handle here, there was also one here. So I thought, oh, this jet wash must be powerful. So what did I do? I stood there with my jet wash, and when I squeezed the handle, I almost fired myself across the yard at the depot, because it's so powerful. I didn't hit myself in the face, luckily. I almost fired myself across the yard like a cartoon. I didn't realise how powerful a jet wash could be. But there you go. It seems this one we have at our company is quite tough stuff. But yeah, that was funny. I also was spraying the curtain and getting it all over me. So I think on a summer's day, washing the wagon will be great. On a winter's day, maybe not. Final thing then, I have also started to get to know the opening times of the places that I'm delivering to, and knowing that it's best to do them in a certain order, because then you can get them by the way they open. So if you're out nice and early, you can go to the one that opens first, then second and third, and so on, so you can get round your route better. I've also got used to knowing which things on the lorry go where, so there are different colour bins, and maybe sometimes there's a pallet or a box or a bag, and I'm getting to know now as well where they're going. And I'm also loading my wagon to suit where I'm going. So for example, there are some places where we deliver to where you can't park, or you can only park with the driver's curtain accessible or on the other curtain accessible, or sometimes it's best through the back doors. And I'm noticing now that I'm telling the forklift driver in our factory more where I want him to put the bins and pallets and stuff, because I'm thinking, well, when I get to that factory, it's best if we unload that through the back doors because of the parking. So then I ask him, can you put that through the back doors, or can you put that on this side, and so on. I'm noticing I'm getting a bit more confident with that. So yeah. I've also noticed that I'm not as half as stressed as I was when I was a teacher, and I'm not half as stressed as I was on my first week. I've got to grips with it all now, and I am used to my lorry and used to what I'm expected to do. I'm very happy still, and yeah. Oh, one more, last one. I've also noticed that places where I would have previously considered to be far are now not far. So my perception of, oh, that's not far, or that's only down the road, that has widened a bit. So places that were, oh, that's quite far, that is, and now, oh, that's not far. So yeah, that's the last thing anyway. I'm going to end this video because it's getting late now and it's getting time for bed. So I'm going to see you in the next video. I've got quite a few planned upcoming, so stay tuned. If you want to keep up with me, you can subscribe. If you like this video, then you can give me a thumbs up. As for now, I will see you in the next one.